All right, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, as the case may be, and thank you for attending this PowerCast, How to Convert from AJS, or Work Job Schedule Entry, to Robot Schedule with Ease by Tom Huntington and Ash Giddings of Help Systems. My name is Ian Cartwright. I'm Education Manager for Common, and I appear on your screen as webcast host. If you experience any technical issues during the presentation, you can send me a chat message using the dialog box, bottom right of the screen. If you'd like to send a written question during the presentation to Ash or Tom, you can use the Q&A area, also in the lower right section of the screen, and select to send to all panelists. The presenters will answer your questions at the end of the presentation as time permits. Let me briefly introduce our speakers. Up first is Tom Huntington. Tom's is Executive Vice President of Technical Solutions at Help System and has been named an IBM champion for the last 3 years. He oversees business alliances and large customer relationship and ensures that Health System software works with other major software and hardware vendors worldwide. Also presenting today is Ash Giddings. Ash began his career on IBM mainframe before moving into mid-range systems such as IBM I and AIX, and then Windows and Linux. He's worked for some of the largest data centers in Europe and has advised large companies around the world on ways to save costs and improve efficiencies. With that, I am going to unmute Ash and Tom and put Tom in control. Tom, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Ian. We really appreciate it. It's exciting to be here with you all today. And let's just kind of remind you why we're here today. Today, we're going to talk more specifically about the Help Systems product line and mainly the actually founding product, Robot Schedule for Help Systems, and how it can help with this transition in modernizing your schedule. Just kind of a rundown here quickly in the robot solution. We have Robot Schedule, and many of you may or may not know this. We can also reach it out to the enterprise with our Robot Schedule Enterprise. We can make IBM I the focal point for automating your Windows, Unix, and Linux servers right from IBM I. After all, IBM I is very reliable, very scalable, always available, and why not run your schedule from there? So we'll talk a bit about that today. Just some other things we do, monitoring QSysOper. We also do HA today. We have the Robot HA product now in our product line. Monitoring of systems real time, either helping out with managing the IFS disk space with Robot Space or just real time monitoring with Robot Monitor. If you're looking at upgrading your systems this year, we have the Performance Navigator product to help with sizing and capacity for IBM I. Not only IBM I, but AIX, Linux, and then finally in the last, we can do report management for customers too. So very excited to be with here today. We have a fairly short agenda, but we're going to do some live demo for you today. We got some polling questions along the way. We're going to talk about why you want to convert from AJS or Work Job Schedule Entry, and then some other tips on how the conversion actually works, and features you'll love after the conversion, and maybe some next steps for you. Before we do that, we're going to bring up our first polling question. So thank you very much. What are your biggest scheduling headaches with your current tool today? Select all that apply. No one left to do the work, too time consuming to maintain the script. No dependency processing, so you don't have an event-driven scheduling. You don't have the reporting to maybe pass the audit. No visibility to the servers that are actually outside of IBM I, which we all have to worry about today. We have touch points out there. No security, no history or forecasting. Can't be loaded into the IS. Maybe we have the problem with Power HA and we're looking for a better way of doing our scheduling in that environment. I was at a customer site just yesterday, and it was a case where they have kind of a partial automated schedule, and we really think that there's a need for doing more automation around their schedule. They've built a menu system around it. The operator kind of clicks things off, not as automated as they'd like to be. So there are a lot of things out there like that we've done in the past, and we're here today to take you from what I'd call AS400 scheduling era to really a modernized IBM I scheduling era. Okay, looks like we have our polling results in here. The dependency processing is the number one, and Ash and I are here to say that our experience with dependency processing, as we add that into the schedule, it really improves your efficiency of running things. And then, of course, the visibility outside of IBM I too. So awesome. Those are the two number one things. Appreciate you answering that first polling question. And Ash, I know you've been there quietly waiting to chime in here on today's webinar. Go ahead and let's have you talk about this.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Tom, and thank you for having me. So, I'm fortunate in my role that I get to work and to speak to lots of companies via WebEx, like we're doing today, but also face to face. So I get to see and experience firsthand, what these companies are doing in terms of job scheduling. So I guess homegrown CLPs, CL programs, this is where everyone started really. One and often multiple CL programs, sometimes linked together with maybe code written in other languages. It really just brings back some memories as to when I first got involved in the system. But bear in mind, these can prove quite time consuming to unpick, as maybe the team or if the developer who knitted them together to begin with is no longer with the company. What else do we see? Work job scheduled entry. Wow, this was actually introduced free of charge with V2 R2, the operating system, back in 1992. And I can still remember how excited I was to get my hands on it at the time. It allows you to schedule jobs to run commands or call programs at specific times on defined days. It doesn't provide the ability to logically group jobs, to use substitution variables, or most importantly, dependencies. You have to set jobs to run at set times and almost cross your fingers and hope that you've allowed sufficient time between jobs that can't run at the same time or need to be completed before subsequent jobs can be initiated. What else do we see? Application scheduler. We come across this quite often. These are often built into the application itself, often an ERP solution, and designed to run jobs pertinent to that application, not to run jobs for other applications residing on the same system. And if I'm honest, these application schedulers tend to be quite limited. They tend to be not much more flexibility than work job scheduled entries, to be honest. AJS, Advanced Job Scheduler. So this was introduced by IBM as a chargeable license program when users started to grow out of the free work job scheduled entries. While being a dramatic improvement on work job scheduled entries, one thing to note is there's no real functions or functionality that allow you to handle jobs or processes on other platforms. And things have changed since the 90s. The eye is not an island now. It's used as a central hub for many businesses now. And then what else are they using? Enterprise schedulers. There are a number of these out there from some of the big players in the market that are really designed to be the scheduler for the whole business, irrespective of the underlying platform. I tend to find these heavyweight solutions don't tend to handle IBM I very well. IBM I always seems a bit of an afterthought.
Yeah, and Ash, if I could add in, I mean, a lot of times in that case, they just I call it, they throw the job over the wall and hope that it finishes. They don't really monitor the response coming back from IBM I very well. So there you have a case where really you don't have true dependency processing. And then down in the application scheduler too, similar kind of thing. It's almost more like the work job schedule entry. They do a lot of time and date oriented scheduling, but not a great job of linking up dependencies and other processes for customers. So thanks for handling that.
Yeah, you're right. So the first thing we're going to look at today, why switch from work job scheduled entry? Well, I mentioned my excitement with the introduction of work job scheduled entry back in 1992, but that was 27 years ago. So to put that into some kind of perspective, that was the same year that Windows 3.1 was released. And that sounds an awful long time ago. And things have moved on enormously since then. One area that wasn't a concern then, but is now a top concern, is security. Work job schedule entry provides very little in terms of ways of controlling who has access to the schedule. If you've got command line, hey, you pretty much get in there. And where you have multiple users with access to your schedule, it's key that you have an audit trail. Work job scheduled entries has an extremely limited audit trail. Because of the limitations, often application development teams tend to get involved to help build dependencies. So you may have a stream of jobs scheduled at times and days within work job scheduled entries, but you have to engage with development team to help build these dependencies and to add and to write additional checks actually into the code. Now, this may be okay for, maybe half a dozen jobs, but it's inflexible because you have got involved with a different team. It tends to slow things down, and also means that the development team end up having the responsibility of the schedule. Never ideal in my book. Also, with work scheduled entries, there's no real forecasting. There's no way to see at a glance what's due to run, so you can change it up front. You can't get a great picture of what's running now. Might be running different subsystems. You can't get a here and now picture. But yeah, forecasting. So if you maybe have a public holiday coming up, you have no way of performing something different on that day, such as maybe running the job before, or maybe on the day after, or maybe at an alternative time. So in terms of flexibility, very basic. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. Well, why would you consider moving from Advanced Job Scheduler? I know you probably did an investment at some point in time in the product, but while you may be a customer that's moved the Power HA from software replication to hardware replication, Advanced Job Scheduler, I don't want to say that it doesn't work with that environment, but it's difficult and it's not as flexible as the robot schedule piece that allows you to load in the IASP and still be loaded in the sys base. So there's some great flexibility because of that. The other thing that you have today, and it comes very clearly through our IBM Marketplace study, is that you have more to worry about than IBM I, Windows, Unix, and Linux servers, and you have all these touch points where you need to monitor files, maybe launch scripts or BAT files or SSIS packages if it's Microsoft SQL Server. And then you're also looking for better reporting for regulations. Audits aren't going to go away. They've only keep on getting stricter and stricter, as GDPR last year in Europe, and Ash and his team have done a lot with that. And of course, in the US, we have different states like New York and California chiming in and making it stricter and stricter. And so regulations are here to stay and they're not going to go away. So who changed what job, the completion history, providing reports is not necessarily the strength of that product. And then flow diagrams and job flows for dependency processing for your development team, saving them time by not having to create complicated Visios from scratch on your schedule. You can just click a button here and you have your flow. So a lot easier to work with, and it takes care of the entire enterprise for you, are some of the high level features.
CL programs.
Yeah.
Now, when using CL programs to handle your schedule, similar to work job scheduled entry, you'll end up having application development, the application development team kind of closely involved, and in effect, in some cases, some extreme cases, maybe even owning the schedule. That way, any changes to the schedule have to be handled by the development team, which certainly slows things down and will in many companies mean you'll have to jump through various change control loops. So again, it negates the agility that you need from a scheduler and managing that schedule. The schedule should be owned, in my book, by the operations team. They're the ones at the coal face. We've talked about key IBM I staff retiring for a few years now, particularly help systems. But there's now real evidence. I'm seeing it not on a daily basis, but on a regular basis. People that we used to engage with have, started to disappear. Now, when staff leave or retire, their extensive knowledge of the schedule also leaves too. And in many cases, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs, and losing that local knowledge is never easy. Similar to work job scheduled entry, there's no ability when using CL programs to easily see what's running now and what's due to run at a later time or date. You also can't see, because there aren't any, what kind of real dependencies are involved. It's all knitted into CL programs somewhere. It makes it really hard work for the operations team. And I think whenever there is some thinking to be done some thinking to be done. This might be at 3 o'clock in the morning. The operations team have been up probably all night. Errors sneak in. Errors are never good. We also see evidence of auditors and various regulations requiring you to provide evidence of who did what and when in terms of job scheduling. Using CL programs, or for that matter, work job schedule entry, doesn't provide that. There's no real reportable audit trail.
Yeah, Ash, one of the things I really didn't really think about adding in here was just the whole concept of service level agreements and keeping up with those at this point in time. And that often I have customers, I have discussions around, hey, we need a better job monitoring solution. And it almost stems from the fact that they have a poor scheduling solution.
Yes, yeah, got you.
It does. It's like you're putting band-aids over the real problem or the symptom. The real problem is that your job scheduling solution you have is inadequate. You're using that enterprise scheduling tool or whatever, and there's no feedback to it. The CL that we talked about here, the work job schedule entry, all those things have that problem. They're just not robust enough to really keep up with what's happened in your business today.
Yeah, spot on, Tom. And I don't know if you find the same, but nobody ever deletes a job because people are not quite sure what it does or what dependencies are. And these schedules, they grow and grow and grow over the years. And, there could be a great percentage of jobs that don't need to run anymore, but no one's brave enough or no one has the knowledge to actually do something about it. So, yeah.
Just keep upgrading the system, right?
That's it.
All you got to do. In our marketplace survey, we ask a question each year: does your IBMI run fully unattended? And that's sometimes hard to interpret by some people. They might refer to it as lights out or whatever, or third shift is dim. There's nobody there. To me, that's unattended. The system is running itself for a good portion of the business or for the good portion of the time. And IBMI, we've seen a lot of success stories in this. So the nice thing about this platform is people do run it unattended, and there are some very large shops that are doing that. To me, it's always about mindset and whether or not you're willing to do that. I just recently had a discussion with somebody new on our staff that has a lot of Windows experience, and they're like, really? People run computer systems totally unattended at night? And I'm like, yeah, large infrastructures do. And that's because they're running IBMI, and it's definitely a system that can be automated. Wouldn't you agree with that, Ash?
Yeah, definitely. It really does lend itself, and I think you're right with regards to the mindset. Some people are quite happy to plod on, and that's fine. But I think in my book there are more exciting things to do than to check that something's finished or check that a subsystem's up or a job is there or a message has appeared. If I've done something 3 times, I'm looking to automate it, not just on IBMI, but in my life as well. I'll either outsource it or automate it if I possibly can and get on with something more interesting.
There you go. Very true. Well, speaking of the marketplace survey, this is open this month here in September. If you go to the website link below, or if you follow me on Twitter or Ash on Twitter or LinkedIn, you'll see there's a link for this. The 2020 IBMI Marketplace Survey. It's open for the month of September. We encourage you to fill that out. It helps provide information into the industry. We're hoping for 700 type people that will take the survey. All right, over to our next polling question. What do you use for scheduling today? So what is your methodology of scheduling your enterprise today? Are you using manual processes? And believe it or not, Ash, there are people still with the manual checklist and somebody checking jobs off at night. I don't want to get rid of your job. I want to make your career better. Come on over to Robot Schedule and we'll help you out there in that case. Same with the homegrown scripts and CLPs. Do you want to continue to maintain those older CLs that you have that, they're always a pain. People are scared of them. They don't know how it runs. Robot Schedule, you got that online support for that. Application schedulers, what can I say? They're free. They come with the product. But they're awful, very much so limiting, and they don't handle the enterprise. They don't allow you to integrate other things that you need to automate. The native scheduler, we talked about work job schedule entry. AJS you might be using. Native schedulers on other platforms. We often see people using the free cron, the Windows Task Scheduler. Again, same problems they have, and almost worse. It seems like I hear more reliability issues with Windows Task Scheduler. Cron, I don't hear complaints about reliability. It's just a very cryptic way of running your batch. And then enterprise schedulers, CA, BMC, IBM, et cetera. And then maybe you're running Robot Scheduler already and you want to learn more. So here we are today. So it looks like native scheduler is the number one thing. I kind of expected that, Ash, that would be out there as the number one result. And then I guess homegrown scripts is the next one. So awesome to have you all with us. And, we're not trying to rain on your parade today. We're just trying to give you a more modern way of running your IBM I environment. So let's talk about how the conversion works. So there are several conversion options that we have for you today. If you're using work job schedule entry, we have a command called robot convert schedule entry. And we've been running that for years. It's well documented. It can bring all those jobs into our database. Same is true with advanced job scheduler, AJS. We can take and read those jobs in and bring them in. And sometimes we have customers that are running both. And then finally, a little trick that's been in Robot Schedule for almost since Tom Huntington has been at Help Systems, which is 3 decades, is Robot Start Learn. We built this a long time ago to be able to capture anything that goes through an IBM I SMIT job command and then build a robot job out of it. And we'll talk about that today too. That's something that's, not to make you chuckle too hard, but yes, I've been here for a while. So Ash, what do you think about the work job schedule entry conversion?
Yeah, well, we're going to show these, I think we're going to show these 3 live, real life demo a little later, but here's how they work. Yeah, work job scheduled entry. So it's a single command, robot convert scheduled entry. It lives in robot lib. And when prompted, allows you to convert one or all jobs from work job scheduled entry straight into robot schedule. It can be run multiple times. So if you do it and you think, I've taken across some jobs that don't need to be there, you can tidy those jobs up and run it again. And one thing to make you aware of is that the jobs are placed on hold when they're converted to robot schedule. This really is belt and braces, as we say in the UK. This is so you can double check the converted jobs before deciding to hold, I guess, the equivalent work job scheduled entry version and at a later date release the robot schedule one. But nice and easy that is, Tom, and we'll show you that working shortly.
Yeah, I mean, the other aspect too is that it gives you an opportunity to embellish your schedule, make it better, add your dependencies in versus all these timed oriented things. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, good point. Okay.
All right.
Things to consider. Yeah, so things to consider with the work job scheduled entry. Well, one thing to make you aware of, you'll need a relatively powerful profile to actually do the convert because it's it's an important thing. You need all of job control and sec admin. Auditing needs to be turned on in robot schedule. Now, this may look like a big thing and complicated thing. It's not. It's dead easy. Really easy to turn on. So from the green screen, from the audit menu, just simply take option 2 to start auditing and you're away. After you've run the conversion, as I say, you'll see it shortly, you can manipulate the converted jobs and you can do that from the green screen if you're more comfortable or familiar with the green screen or the popular robot schedule GUI. The GUI is great. I tend to be a green screen person purely because of speed. But one GUI I do use time and time again is the schedule viewing. You'll see all the jobs that are converted. It converts them into a robot schedule application called IBM SCDE. So it's nice and easy to locate and all the jobs are in there. What else to talk about? A log file is created, which details who ran the conversion, along with which jobs were converted and whether there are any exceptions, and also, whether there are any exceptions that you might need to tackle separately. And Just one thing to really note here is we don't migrate any job history information. So anything from work job schedule entry like last run date or last change date, that doesn't come across at all. So in effect, you're starting a new set of history from day one in Robot Schedule, which is not a bad thing. It's nice to be able to cut the apron strings at some stage. Okay, Tom, anything to add on this one? You've probably done lots and lots of these.
No, I mean, it's pretty straightforward, and quite honestly, our support team helps you through this too. So that's what they do in a lot of the POCs. So I talk about it, but I haven't done as many as you maybe think, Ash. Other people do it through our support team.
Got you.
Yeah.
So similar to the conversion of scheduled entries is the advanced job scheduler conversion. So this utility will take your jobs from the advanced job scheduler straight into Robot Schedule. Again, you'll need a powerful profile. So that's all OBS, job control, and sec admin. This time the command is RBTAJSCNV, and again, it can be found in the library robot library. Slightly different this one. When prompted using a standard F4, you have some flexibility in here in that you can migrate either all applications from AJS or selected applications. And this is neat because it allows you to migrate your schedule piece by piece. For example, you may want to migrate your pre-end of day processes to begin with, have them run for a few days in Robot Schedule before moving on to other applications. So you get that comfort factor and that confidence that things are working well. Items to consider here. Well, top tip, if you have any reactive job streams, you must convert all of these jobs during the conversion process. So just something to be aware of there. But once converted, you can again choose whether you use the green screen or the GUI to look at and manipulate these jobs that have been converted. And again, just for your information, every job that gets converted as a held job. So you can't just run the schedule and say, hey, I've converted, everything's running. You still need to do a little bit of legwork. That gives you the opportunity, as Tom mentioned, to put maybe some dependencies in, to add dependencies. Obviously, dependencies get migrated. They're definable within the advanced job scheduler. So those dependencies come across, but hey, it gives you the opportunity to improve that schedule.
Well, the other thing too, Ash, is you have to think about if I'm converting my jobs over here, I have to make sure I put them on hold in the other scheduler or delete them from there so that they don't run twice too, because
yes,
that something running twice in night processing might cause a little problem. So I've always been a fan of not doing a big bang approach to scheduling anyways. It's ease into it, do a few jobs tonight, a few more jobs the next night, a few more jobs the next night, and then next thing you know, you're automated and you're going, wow, how did I live without this automation tool as part of my portfolio, right?
Yeah,
sorry to interrupt you.
That's great. Yeah, and that's the beauty with the to be able to specify an application rather than just say, hey, just zip the wall over at once. Once again, you get a log file and an exception report during the conversion. But again, note this error file gets cleared each time you run the command.
That's a good point. So if you import some of the jobs for a particular application and then do it again, it's going to clear the previous error. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So that's why it's useful to do one application to ensure you're happy before you tackle the next one.
We want happy customers.
Yeah,
All
right.
That's
right.
Well, how would you convert your native CL? And again, this is going to be, in the cases of a lot of the what I call never-ending batch jobs that are basically people's night scheduling, they might have a CL that's running in the background and it's doing submit jobs outside of that CL. Or they're doing submit jobs within the CL, and then the job becomes a process that just gets launched on the system with no real control of when it finishes and that kind of thing. Also, people do still use the local data area, which is a way of passing parameters into your application, or simply parms too. We certainly can bring those in. So what we do is we can run this command called robot start learn, and that's been around for quite a while. It puts the job into robot schedule, puts it on hold. It's one job at a time. It's not like the AJS conversion where we can just read the whole CL and build a job. But if you have a CLP and you could possibly call that from a command line and learn all the submit jobs out of it, we could do that through the robot start learn. You simply would do robot start learn on a command line, call your CLP, and then everything that's run through the submit job process will automatically get created into robot schedule. And there's some prompting involved in here. You know, do you want us to submit a job after we've learned it? No. And then the next one is, do you want to see it in robot schedule as you're learning it? If I'm doing that big long CLP and I just want to learn all my submit jobs, I would turn that second parameter to no, because then all it does is it's going to run through your CL and learn all the jobs right into robot schedule. Very, very powerful way to do that. All right, so let's get into talking about, before we actually do our live demo, let's talk about some of the different features that we have in robot schedule that I think your team will love. Again, I was just on a customer site yesterday, reserve command variables. We were talking about dynamic parameters like dates, their business dates, and etc. It's a global feature within robot schedule, and it's going to save your developers time as systems administrators or developers in creating parameters. Here's just an example of from Cone Drive. They use reserve command variables, would really get us to where we needed to be because it helped automate parameters being passed into the Mapix XA product from Infor. So very powerful. It is a built-in feature. You can get at it through the GUI or the green screen. We ship reserve command variables with the product, about 20 of them. And then you can modify those to do things like today's date -1, today's date +7 in system date format, year month date format, current ISO formats. But then you can get creative. You can use reserve command variables, constants. You can build ones like next invoice number, next cash draft number. Once you have them loaded up and you have them in your command, you can even test to see when the command would run today, how's it going to substitute in so that you get the right format. Here we're just showing add at date -1, add at date for today, and then the format that they're going to run in. And I apologize, Ash, we're not using the European format. Here we're using the only ones in the world that go the way we do, month to year. So, or what did I just say? Yeah, month to year. Okay. See, I even get confused. I've been doing scheduling for so long. I even say scheduling once in a while to make you feel good about scheduling.
Yeah, we should have a global standard, I think.
Yes. Yes.
Mobile job scheduling management. So for those of you that are maybe not aware, help systems have a free web-based utility called Insight that allows you to manage your licensing, your deployment, your upgrades, but also it allows you to define dashboards across a whole heap of help systems products, including Robot Schedule. So for Robot Schedule within Insight, you can build an easy to read job flow diagram and show active job steps in real time. You can identify critical jobs for activity monitoring and completion history. You can also set up reactivity chains by maybe selecting 2 jobs and mapping out the critical path between them. Tom, do I have one more slide there? I think I do, don't I? That shows.
Yeah, they're the one. Let's see the results.
Yeah. So here we have, this is Insight showing a job flow diagram. So it's mobile aware, so it scales depending on what device you're on. And we now have well in excess of 400 people using Insight. So we already have Robot Console in there, Network, Monitor, a number of PowerTech security products, and of course, Robot Schedule. So if you take nothing else away from today, go and download Insight. It's free and it's a great tool.
Yes, it is, certainly. You know, one of my other favorite features in Robot Schedule is our number 4 reason is Schedule Activity Monitor, or some of us refer to it as SAM. You can get at SAM through the GUI or through the web interface. A lot of the features we're talking about today are in the GUI. Looking at graphics, doing a flow chart in a green screen ain't going to happen. So not to be blunt about that, but the GUI or the browser is where you want to be. So this shows you your schedule at a glance. It's a nice visual for the operations team. People are looking for dashboards to put up in their data centers. This is one of those that does auto refresh. So as jobs run, it's just going to peel off the forecast, move to the completed side, and I'll show you that in a bit. So it's one of the first things that we have our operators check is what Heartland Financial Group says about the SAM, or the Schedule Activity Monitor and Robot Schedule. As I said, you can get at it from the graphical interface or from the browser. And it's something I'm always surprised the number of people don't know about it, even when they have Robot Schedule. But here we're showing you your forecast. It's what we call the internal forecast. We automatically rebuild this at different times of the day. If you do add new jobs and you want them to show up in there, there is an option here to rebuild it on demand. And then over to the right here, we have what's recently completed. If it's red, that means it failed. Don't worry, you can drill into IBMI job logs right from here, or from here you can do that in the web-based interface also. So that's Schedule Activity Monitor. We know you'll love it once you get into it. Back over to you, Ash, to talk about enterprise scheduling.
Yeah, enterprise scheduling. So I guess since day one, IBMI, System 38, AS400, it's always been a core application at the center of many businesses. Right. And the need to talk with and to interface with other applications running on other platforms has been a necessity, really. Robot Schedule Enterprise bolts on seamlessly to Robot Schedule to provide you with a hub, kind of a central control point to manage your whole cross-platform schedule. So whether it lives on AX or Linux or Windows, it really doesn't matter. So whether you need to trigger jobs on the local machine, on the local IBMI, an alternative partition. I know lots of you have cross-partition dependencies now, or to bring in Windows, Unix, Linux, whatever. Schedule Enterprise is now worth its weight in gold, enabling you to fire jobs soon as dependent jobs or events have completed or even failed. Some people like to do something if jobs fail. And with many third-party applications like SAP, we see the SAP on here, and Oracle JDE, my experience is they're slightly substandard schedulers. They're very basic. Enterprise Schedule provides a neat, seamless interface straight into these applications. And for those difficult to automate manual tasks, we recommend Robot Replay. Robot Replay works in harmony with Schedule. It lets you automate interactive processes. So this would be somebody sitting in front of a keyboard, in effect, with speed and with ease. So what used to take maybe one of your staff members hours to reprogram can be captured once with Robot Replay and then implemented and adjusted for new processes. So you record the keystrokes, we fine tune it, and you can then play those keystrokes back within Schedule. So in effect, it acts as an automated operator for you. Robot Replay objects can be integrated into reactive and group job streams to combine interactive processes with batch. And Robot Schedule watches the process to make sure all steps are monitored and recorded. And your team will be fully in control of the most complicated job streams across multiple partitions or even multiple platforms. Thank you, Tom.
Awesome. Thanks, Ash. Nice job on that one. Let's talk about advanced scheduling, and very much so important part of what we bring to the table with Robot Schedule is the ability to do end of day, end of month, end of year type scheduling, the ability to handle fiscal calendars, holidays, business days. Each and every day, Robot runs millions and millions of jobs around the world in many different industries to keep up with things. And then really, as I talked about earlier, that SLA conversation, or that customer that comes to us and says, geez, I need a better monitoring tool for all my jobs because I have some jobs that don't finish on time. And I'm thinking, really what you need is a better scheduling tool, because you should be able to get that right out of the Robot Schedule product. So really, the other aspect of robot is it really lets me sleep at night, according to one of the longtime administrators we've worked with over at the Staples organization. And it just, it automates the system, lets his team focus on other projects, lets the software run the night processing. So we do that with our advanced scheduling features. We have features that can run things daily at certain times of the day or multiple times of the day. We can do things like last week of the month, last Saturday, last Friday of the month. Certain day numbers, we might want to run something on the 10th day of the month, -1, -5, every so many minutes, every minute, every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, every 180 minutes. Maybe we have specific dates we want to run something with or without dependencies. So date and a dependency can be fulfilled at the same time. What to do if it's a holiday, we can run it before, after, skip it. And then we even have a more advanced feature called Opal that allows you to build some of your own macro rules around scheduling. Here's an example of the flexible calendars, fiscal and holiday calendars. Often our customers will have 1 or 2 calendars, maybe 3. You might have different international business lines that run on different business calendars. But you don't have to have a calendar for every job. You create a calendar, it's a shared object across your environment, and then you can automate even the switching of these calendars, which, so we try to make it so as hands-off as possible. Once a year, you got to remember to go in and recreate your holidays. But other than that, it should run itself, and as a matter of fact, it can switch to calendars. Now, we've talked about SLAs a couple different times. We have a couple different things in the product these days. We have the job monitors that check overrun, underrun, and late start. And then we have a newer command that was added in about a year or so ago. I'm tired of people checking off jobs, even if they have robot schedule. I've seen some of that out there. Makes me cringe a little bit. I think, we got built this automated scheduler. You should be using the scheduler to automate the schedule and maybe even to check on the scheduler. Here's even a newer way of being able to run something every 15 minutes or so, and it will look at what's the forecast and what actually ran and compare. There's a delta between what we have in the forecast and robot schedule and what's in the history. We're going to warn you several different ways. QSys Opera if you like that, Robot Alert if you have that, Robot Network if you have that. So really something, if you haven't looked at forecast jobs miss command, you should be looking at that because it will help you automate your SLAs. And then the number one reason for using robot schedule, Ash, is
dependency processing. So with robot schedule, you can eliminate what I call dead times. So those times where nothing is running in between one job completing and a dependent job running. So without an intelligent scheduler, you have to schedule these jobs to run at specific times and hope that A, they complete normally, and B, that the first job completes before the dependent job starts. If you've got this set up in work job scheduled entry or in another basic scheduler, you haven't got that. You're trusting to look all the time. Or worse still, you have to rely on staff to check and trigger jobs. They're refreshing the screen, they're looking for completed or failed messages, and then the next job gets submitted. Always a pain. With robot schedule, you can run job streams based on literally anything occurring. So most commonly, this will be a job completing, probably a job completing normally, but you might want to do something different if the job completes normally to if the job fails. But you can also run jobs and trigger jobs based on files existing. So think IFS files. Lots of the IFS is often used as a real dumping ground now. So you can look for logs or for entries being written to the IFS, maybe something being deleted, or maybe even services being in certain statuses. Maybe a Windows service being in a certain state means that you need to trigger something on I. And remember, you can view this job processing flow from the GUI or from within Insight. It's up to you whether you want to go web-based or graphical console.
Well, Ash, I think we've come to the live demo time, and I'm going to share my screen here. And I have the GUI up right now. I just want to show people this, but I have a feeling we're going to work from the green screen to start first. So let me bring that up here and replace that. There is a obviously a GUI with robot schedule, but I'm going to give Ash you control here. Oops, assign control. Oh, there you are. Okay. Sorry, I had to find the right person here. Ash, you should have control now.
Let's try and take control.
There you go. I didn't want to give it to one of our attendees, so.
Let's add the robot library. Save me having to.
I already did that once earlier, so that's okay. Sorry, I didn't tell you about that.
No problem at all. So let's look at the first one. So RBTAJSCNV-Converts.
So this is going to be the conversion from the work job schedule entry, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. And I've got a job actually. Well, I guess we could we start a quick look at that job. Got a job I'm going to convert. So we're going to convert this guy here. So it's set to run. It runs weekly. I think it probably runs every day, doesn't it? So it runs weekly. It runs every day at every day weekly at 00:30 in the morning.
Mm.
So let's see what we can do with that. Let's bring that back. So the job name, we're not going to convert all because we want some speed in this. So we'll do a nav dr. We're just going to convert that one job. And remember, you need all obs, job control, and sec admin. Let's hit enter. See how quick it is. It beat me to it. It finished before I finished speaking.
So that job's now been brought in, right?
That job's now been brought in. Yeah. Let me just have a look at my my spooled files here and just see what I've got here. These guys will be key.
Yeah, here's the amazing thing. Our developers thought of everything when it comes to this conversion. I'm impressed when I look at this actually.
So here you get kind of a top level. We've only converted one, and hey, good, because it's a live webinar. It got converted successfully. And here we have a kind of an audit trail as to what gone on. There's some status messages in here, 6 status messages. We've got no warnings. That's great. This will become more important if you are converting multiple jobs or maybe all jobs. So Tom, should we have a look in the GUI?
Yeah, let me bring the GUI over here. Oop, I got to click on the mouse. All right, there you go. You should be able to click back and have control.
Okay, brilliant. Well, let's open up. We're on a system called Wisdom.
Right.
And let's go into applications.
Oh, there you go.
Just going to open it here, and what we should have.
Yeah, there.
Our friend, the job. So this is this come over. Let's just have a quick look at the properties. So that was seamless. That came over in seconds.
And keep in mind, you can see this in the green screen or the GUI. So, but this is obviously GUI.
Yeah.
Or in the web interface for that matter.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So so we know it's held. It comes across held irrespective. It's going to run every day at 00:30. It brings everything over that you need. This is the command that runs in the background. Of course, no history comes over, but full control as to what happens with the output, and everything else comes over as well. There were no dependencies with this. It's come over from work job scheduled entry, but we can add them. So this is the value of bringing things over as held. You can start to add dependent jobs. There we go.
Okay.
Here.
So that's pretty good. Let's jump over to AJS then. I'm going to bring up the green screen again because all these conversions run from green screen. So Ash should be able to click on and control that now.
Great. Yeah. So let's. You
still have control or not? You might have to click on it. There you go.
AJS.
AJS.
JS, isn't it?
Yes, it's GoJS. I always forget that too.
Every single time.
Not like it's spent a lot of time in it though, but you know.
So we should have a few jobs in here. So we have a few jobs, and the couple I'm interested in today, these top 2. So the daily save and the daily update. These are part of an application called Overnight. I've not been very imaginative, but let's take a little look. Let's look at daily save to begin with and take a little delve into that. We can see, hey, we've got some dependencies in here. So we're going to convert this and see what happens when we bring them into job schedule. We've got a daily update job as well. Again, this has got some times it's scheduled at. We've not changed much in here, but maybe we change the job queue and the job priority and the output queue. So all of this comes over. So let's give this a go then. Remember, powerful profile once again. We're going to bring all jobs over, and we're going to bring them over from the overnight application. That's the default data library. No need to change that. So let's just hit enter and see what happens. Okay, lightning quick again. And again, we get a small audit trail here. I'm not going to delve into that for the in the interest of time. So if we can jump over to the GUI again, please, Tom.
Yeah, let me click on here and bring up our good friend, Mr. GUI. There you are. He's still on that job. So
wonderful.
From before. You got to close that. You have to cancel that one. There you go. Yeah.
Ah, there we go.
It's nice to have two drivers, right? Somebody looking over your shoulder.
That's right. Yeah. So where are we? Overnight. Here's our friend, the overnight group, and these are two jobs. So let's look at the first one and look at the properties. So everything we defined is in here. So the times, the days, the commands that run.
Awesome. 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 All right, let's see. Looking at our time here, we should probably jump over to the next thing we want to do here. So I'm going to take back control. Unless there's anything else you want to show there, Ash?
No, go for it, Tom.
All right. So long awaited live demo by me here, but we have, of course, in Robot Schedule, we have the robot start learn command. It's been in Robot Schedule decades, almost as old as dirt. When you prompt it, it asks you, do you want to submit the job after we've learned it in? Yes or no. So what that's really saying is, hey, I'm going to intercept your submit job from your menu, from your CLP, and do you want me still to submit it plus learn it, or do you want me just to learn it? Okay. So we can say, no, I don't want to submit it. And then the last parameter here, there's only two, is do I want to see robot schedule? Okay, I'm going to do yes here. But again, if you're using this to learn a bunch of submit jobs and you want speed, change that to no, and it's just going to learn them all in there, and then you'll be able to find them later in robot schedule. So this actually was turned on earlier. So I'm going to go into our robot menu, and I'm going to go into robot HA. And in robot HA, there's an audit menu that talks about the history of when you've run your audits. And you can see it online, but I want to run the audit history report. Now, I'm not from Help Systems. I don't know what the parameters are that Help Systems has put in here, but I want to learn for the month of August, and I think that that's going to be the date format because I'm on my USA team or system, and my completion date is going to be 08/31/19. I almost asked a bad question. How many days are in August, right? Pretty strange. I've been around scheduling for so long, I can tell you how many minutes are in a day, which is pretty scary. So what happens is I hit enter, and it's going to do a submit job behind the screens, and it's recognized that I've already created this job once in the past. So I'm going to just call it TJH HA audit and change it. So if you've already learned it in, it's going to recognize it's out there already. I'm going to hit enter. And now what it's done is it's brought us right into Robot Schedule green screen. Oh, look at that beautiful green screen in front of us. And it's added learn in here, and it's put the job on hold. There's going to be no time scheduling because, again, this is something coming from IBM submit job. I press F10, and we can see the actual command that I've learned in, etc., etc., etc. All those things, even the local data area. So if you're using local data area, we'll bring that in. That's a painful thing. By the way, too, LDA is one of those things that people forget. If we come in here and I were to insert another command, keep in mind you can run any command you want in here. So I can do change data area star LDA if I want, or group data area if I'm using one of those. So Okay, so I did all that. I did an F3, and then my application didn't like the fact that we behind the scenes sneakily overrid the submit job command. So now if I go to the GUI, and I think I called well, we can go use Ash's approach here. We should have an application learn. Where is learn? Right there. And these are jobs that have been learned in. I see I have some other ones out here. Here's the one we just learned in. And there's our command. We didn't add our change data. I never did save that, so that's why that's not in there. But now I could come in and do reactivity. I could say, hey, I want to make this reactive on, let's see, what did you call some of those jobs? I think they were performance nav. So I wanted to run after the performance nav process is done running, and I've now just created a dependency from learn. That's it, Ash. That's our live demo. Let's go back to the PowerPoint and move on. Just to remind people, help systems, yes, we do a lot on IBMI, but we also have cybersecurity for Windows, Unix, and Linux and IBMI. We can do a full pen test today of your entire organization if you have any of that going on. And of course, we've been talking about robot schedule for automation. Keep in mind, we also do Windows, Unix, and Linux automation. We play in RPA, robotic process automation. We can monitor your network. And then business intelligence on IBMI, we do a lot with that for customers. And then don't forget about us for document management too. So it's been great talking to you today about converting some of your manual schedules or your other scheduling pain points into robot schedule. We have another polling question that we're going to open up, and we just want to know how can we help you. Select all that apply. I'd like someone to help me with my conversion. We do have services where we can help you out with this and converting things. Let's set up robot schedule demo. You want to have a demo with Ash or I? We certainly can help you out there. I'd like to start a robot schedule trial. Hey, go ahead. We can just download it, 30-day trial, run it there. Or I'm not sure. I just want to talk to help systems about what's new. We do a lot of technology updates on a daily basis. Matter of fact, I think I got one later this afternoon with a customer, and it's a great time to have conversation about what's new with you and how can we help you out. So go ahead and select one of those. We'll leave that polling question open for a little bit. We'll move on into the Q&A part of today's session, and surprisingly enough, we only have about 3 or 4 minutes. One of the questions that we had out there, Ash, I saw earlier was, can you convert the advanced or the Standard antivirus over to robot schedule and run it through robot schedule?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I don't know an awful lot about that particular solution, but I know it's a relatively straightforward IBMI application. So yeah, no problem at all. That shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, just remember, if you're running it there, let's put it on hold and don't run it anymore from there. Put it in robot schedule. Yes, you absolutely can move that over there. We do, you might ask, well, why do we do what we do? We do have applications that do put things in work job schedule entry. That's because we can't assume everybody has robot schedule.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate, but that's kind of the way it is. But you can certainly move any of our tasks into robot schedule from work job schedule entry and turn that off. So Ian, did you have any questions for us?
Sure. You can send in questions using the Q&A panel, bottom right of the screen, select to send to all panelists. We do have a couple minutes, so we'll answer some questions. There is one here that I can address, asking about the slide deck and recording of today's event. It will be available. We will send everybody an email with the link when that's available. It just takes time for the video to render, so that should be later in the day or early tomorrow. This next question is, can robot schedule reboot a Windows server?
I don't see any reason why not. Again, there's a number of reboot commands in Windows, so we can simply wrap those up into a script and have Schedule Enterprise just kick that script off. So that's not a problem at all. Really straightforward.
Think about that, Ash. If a service ends over on a Windows server, we can actually monitor a service and then run a robot job to restart that service, or to your point, maybe reboot it. Reboot the Windows. Sometimes in Windows world, the only way to fix the problem is reboot it, unfortunately. Yeah. Great question.
This next one is, does the auditing and monitoring use disk space?
Absolutely uses disk space. But really we're talking minimal. We're going to be, less than a I've seen some gigabyte size libraries with robot schedule, but that's because people haven't purged history for over 20 years. So, but typically most people are going to run around maybe a quarter of a gigabyte of disk space with robot schedule.
All right, last chance, folks, to send in questions. Use the Q&A, bottom right of the screen, select to send to the all panelists. There is another one that I can answer right quickly. They're asking you presenting this session at Common. They're not presenting this session at Common, but Help System will be in the exposition at Common, so come see them when you arrive in Indianapolis next week.
Yeah, great event. Come see our staff. We actually have a social event too at Common Tuesday evening for customers that are there. So look for that. Stop by our booth and they'll get you information about it.
All right, so this last question is, what version of Robot Scheduler is the conversion available?
What version? Well, Robot Start Learn has been in there for 3 decades. The AJS and the work schedule and job schedule entry, boy, those have been in there for probably 5 years now. So I don't know the exact version anymore. It's been in the product so long already. But our support team, just call 1-800-328-1000 or the next slide here should have that information on there. Well, there's an email. Even if you email that, our support team will take care of you from there.
Okay, well, we are at the end of the hour. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Ash. It was a good presentation. Like I said, if anybody wants the handout or replay, it will be available later in the day. Tomorrow at the latest, you'll get an email for that. Tom and Ash, good presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Ash. Wonderful job. Everybody have a wonderful day. Enjoy Common. I won't be there this time, but it's a great event, and we hope to see you in the fall, in the spring. Anyways, I will be there.
All right, everybody have a good day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.